Okay. I have really no idea how to even start on this one, so I'm just going to start it with the most plain and simple answer. What the fuck? What even is this game? Okay, like I'm gonna go on a limb here and say I played about this much of the game prior, up until the real estate whole thing. So I only got to play the goofy part of the game before. And with that in mind, I was always kind of like, okay, this is just a satirical game. This was game zero in the series, so this is the starting catalyst point for every game that follows. And now that I've looked into it deeper, there's six games in the mainline series, and now like three extra from the Like a Dragon series, which is the series following this series. So there's a lot of ground to cover, and I'm going to try and it into as small of a space as possible. Let's talk about Yakuza 0. So, from the goofier side of the game, well, we'll just start there because I feel like that's somehow easier to tackle as the goofy part. There's a lot of missions that satirize things that could have happened in the 80s around that area. And God, this is hard to even wrap my brain around. The goofier missions all stand to help you gain for your businesses, but all in the same, they tell really good stories in bite-sized sniblets with very little string attached. Most of the sideline stories you could be in, out, and done with in a matter of 15 minutes, which for a side quest, that feels like the right amount of time. And that's just what it is. I'm totally okay having it that way, and I enjoyed that. It's a little ADHD break for all of us who think too fast. Now, pulling away from talking about the side missions, let's paint the scene in which this all happens for anyone that's not watched anything about this ever. You start off in Japan, in Tokyo, in a subdivision of Tokyo called Kamurocho. And what Kamurocho is to Tokyo is essentially their gambling and red light district. It's basically all gambling and hookers. There's really nothing more you can paint on that delicately. That is what it is. That was its purpose. And it's everything you think of when you think of old school Japan. Like whenever you see depictions of it in like slightly older animes and stuff that are trying to, take in the real Tokyo, and they show you that big district full of flashing lights, pachinko parlors, stuff like that. That is exactly what Kamurocho is. It is, in its own definition, the fun district. And you play as Kiryu Kazuma, who is not to be confused with his captain, Shintaro Kazama. One letter difference in there. And you play alongside your sworn brother, Nishiki. I think his first name was Akira. Akira Nishikiyama. Yeah. It's hard to keep all these in my head because there was a lot of names getting thrown around very quickly, and they only really catch a full name once. They will generally only respond to each other by their quick given names, like Kiryu, Nishiki. And the whole synopsis of the story revolves around two things, really, but it starts off as one thing. A patch of land, smaller, somehow, smaller than my entire apartment, And it's on the inside of a bunch of buildings. So it's basically everyone's backyard except for it's nobody's backyard except for they all have a door leading to this backyard. But that little square of land is this whole game's pivot point. And while that may seem kind of dumb, they made it work. I can't argue. I would not have been able to write a story around a patch of land that intense. uh, so you basically get taskmanned with, the starting mission is, hey, you're doing a debt collection. Go collect over here. And then just everything goes downhill. You go out drinking with Nishiki. You catch the news. The news shows off that you might have made an oopsie. But then you swear that you didn't make an oopsie. And you basically have to say, hey, I'd like to no longer be a Yakuza. Because your captain, Captain Kazama, is in prison. And by the hierarchy of Yakuza, Kazama brought us in. So we are his responsibility no matter what we do. And so anything we do bad goes up bad on his record. It's an accountability thing. So there's that. So we decide to kick ourselves out of the Yakuza, and that kind of kick starts the catalyst for the entire story. And it can be summed up in a very simple phrase. I had to leave the Yakuza to join the Yakuza. I don't know why, but that is as close to making sense of it as I can, because after you leave, you're like, shit. Now I can't resolve my problems in the Yakuza. It's like, I don't know how to explain this in any more neutral terms. Like, fucking, you had a lifetime pass to the YMCA, but you canceled it, and then 2 days later, you remembered, oh, fuck, I left my stuff in the locker in the dry dock area, and I have a locker full of stuff in the swimming area. I gotta go get those back. Now, I hate to compare the YMCA to the Yakuza because there's almost no fucking comparison. The YMCA would probably hold your hand and let you politely walk in and get your stuff. Not so much for the Yakuza, but you get the point. The story then takes a shift from Kiryu to player 2. And that is when you get to play as the one-eyed wonder Goro Majima. His backstory is honestly where the game kind of starts to get heavy. Like, everything with Kiryu, there's a little bit of heft to his storyline, but you don't really feel the weight of it. When you start, playing as Majima, you really start to realize the weight that the story has behind the scenes. Dude got set up, got his sworn brother arrested for 18 some counts of murder, got tortured in what is essentially a disappearing zone, came out of the disappearing zone alive, and now lives a hostage in his own life, attempting to regain what he lost. Like, that is fucked up. In the politest sense. Absolutely fucked up. And I mean, for what it's worth, he's got a good gig. Not like he's holed up doing nothing but playing Watch Boy for the Yakuza. He's living a civilian life, one that he can't escape, but he's living it. And when we shift from Kiryu to Goro, we also shift locations. So we are still in Japan, but this time a little further over, we're in Osaka, and we are in Osaka's Stotenbori district, which is Riverside, for the Stotenbori River. Really thought hard with that name, didn't you, Sega? And with the Osaka district, it is more of a mid-city district than it is a red light district. They still have, dirty video stores, the call-in girl phone lines, all that other stuff, but it's not a bunch of pachinko parlors. It seems more like a downtown walking district. You've got two river crossings, you've got the little park on the back alley, a whole bunch of other random stuff on the outside. It's not as bright and lit up as Kamurocho was. There is one street on the south side of the river that runs from your hotel, the Grand, or not hotel, I guess, Burlesque, down to the next couple burlesques, all on the same road. So when it's like nighttime, the street's lit up pretty nice. When it's daytime, it just looks like any other road. And I think that's a magical transformation there. And it really helps set the tone and the mood for when you're playing as Majima. His nickname in the business is the King of the Night. And I think that it stands to feel true, because there's only one super populated district at the night times when you play as Majima at the night times, and yours is the biggest, loudest, flashiest cabaret burlesque there is. That's what I feel like makes it good. They do such a wonderful job writing these story pieces into where it feels natural, not like it's some effed up, cheap, easy nickname that someone gets. It's like, oh yeah, he's King of the Night, and it's just some dude just sitting on a park bench. Nothing like that. They make the titles actually seem like they, give a shit. But with Majima, you are on the part of storyline number 2, which is, we need you to kill somebody. Which then turns into Majima feeling sorry for that somebody and not killing them. There's no other way really to explain that. I mean, you meet a few other choice characters along the way, like Li Hai-hung, the very large, buff Chinese massage therapist from the Triads. He's real cool. Meet a bunch of other folks around town who all know you. Then the dude who's keeping Majima in his cage, Sagawa-han, he calls you out to meet every now and then too, just to dick with you. Like, they're really playing Majima dirty for a good portion of the entire story that leans on his side, and you feel that pressure. You feel them really messing with you. And then the story will keep doing this every 2 chapters between Kiryu, Goro, Kiryu, Goro, Kiryu, Goro. And I don't want to give away any more of the story beats for anyone that hasn't played the game, so I'm going to leave the storyline alone right there. I just wanted to paint the picture of the 2 characters in the 2 places. Towards the end, things do come together, but things go downhill enough in the story where at one point, I actually had to write this down because I found it funny. You basically become homeless, as you have that's nowhere safe as Kiryu. I had somewhere near 140 million yen and was homeless. Like, I got past the hotel district. Can I book a room under an anonymous name? Is that not safe? Nah. You know what's safer? Sleeping in the homeless camp. They'd never check there. And for as much as this story likes to revolve around the story point of Kazama-san, who is in prison, Shote Kazama, I'm pretty sure we went like a solid 5 or 6 chapters without even hearing mention of his name. So either the game is doing an extremely good job at gaslighting me and I missed all the conversation around Kazama-san, or the focus shifted from him being in the story to a patch of dirt. That's a strange story beat that I kind of noticed was out there. Uh, and then I have one thing that I find very impressive and one thing I find very not impressive. Throughout the entire story, I didn't notice it until right towards the end of the game. When you go into bars, you can actually purchase real liquor brands. And I think one of the times I dropped into a bar to try and grab a bottle for the homeless dudes, it kind of grazed my mind. I was like, I feel like I've seen this bottle before. Maybe it's just one of those, like we changed the name a little bit to, skirt copyright laws, but we kept the colors kind of thing. No, they straight up actually have real liquor brands in this game, like notable brands. And I was like, holy shit. Really? Like, of all the things that you could focus on in game to make real, to make your game feel more realistic, you chose to focus on liquor brands? Like, that's, for me, that's insane. And it was a haha funny detail at first, and I started paying more attention to a lot of the details in the game because I was like, what else are they doing to make this feel real? And then I paid too close of attention, and I had my heart broken by whoever did the graphic design for something. This is where I'm going to put a warning for anyone. This is a trigger warning. I'm going to show you a firearm because I need to talk about how bad their design was. Now, I don't own a PMM Makarov, and that was the only gun that I saw in the entire game that I can say they modeled almost correct. It had the weird slanted grip handle, short barrel, the shell ejection was in the correct area. I didn't see the decocker on the guns, but that's being too much tizzy for it. Throughout the game, though, they had a lot of very standard, what I would call 9mm pistols. And while mine is anything from standard, a lot of their 9mm pistols, which this one is, emptied. We always safety check our firearms because that's a rule. But a lot of them did not have an ejection port on the side of the gun where the slide would move back to accept a new round from the chamber. A lot of the guns had ejection ports here. Now, I don't know how many people need to be aficionados on firearms, but if the handle is here and your ejection port is here, not here, the casing for the bullet's not gonna come out at all. And I hate to be the guy that points that out, but it looked real egregious when I started seeing it, because some of the Yakuza in actual fights were using revolvers, because when they drop them on the ground, you could very clearly see a J-frame body and a cylinder. That's a revolver. Even if it's in low poly, you can tell it's supposed to be a revolver. That's cool. But when I'm watching cutscenes and other stuff like that, and I'm seeing a group of Yakuza all firing guns like this, and they have the gun at the forefront of the screen, and I can see the slide moving back, and the casing ejecting from the front of the gun, when the handle's back here, something there's not right. Now, every time there was a PMM Makarov, it was absolutely modeled correct. I'm also pretty sure I saw an old Russian-styled revolver in one of the scenes, and that was also modeled correct. So they had the Russian firearms down right. The only other gun that I saw that was modeled even relatively correct was, I want to say, Sagawa Han. and a character we don't see until way later in the game, Lao Guai. I believe they both had Beretta Model 92s, and those are modeled correctly too. So, what happened when they had three very recognizable guns modeled correctly? Perfect. The kind of flubbed 9mm guns that were floating around in the game were all wrong. Very wrong. There was no ounce of correct there. And it showed. I know not everyone's a gun nut. Most people just don't like guns to begin with, but seeing that made my brain just stop for a solid second, and it sounded like dial-up noises in my head probably, because I was like, wait a minute. That can't work? What? It was not possible. But outside of terrible gun design, having real liquor brands, and having notable areas of two different cities, I feel like they did a really good job. I played a little bit of this game, and when I played it originally, I had a 60% keyboard for coding, so I didn't have arrow keys. I could not move around as easily during stuff like the singing portions, the disco portions. It really screwed with me because I had to hit a function key. But if you hit a function key, you can only press the arrows. If you touch any other key, it's double coded for a function. So having to try to co-coordinate that just didn't work. It sucked. Now that I have a nice 80% keyboard with buttons, I was able to finally really play this game. For all the things that it does goofy, and like the haha storylines with like Steven spinning, Miracle Johnson, other notable notable names that pop up. When the game gets intense about its story beats, it lays it on, man. Like, I didn't expect to feel. I thought this was just going to be a haha goofy game with some serious stuff in the background. No. There's some feeling in there. Like a lot. I was surprised. I said it on my closing out of the other video and my end of the screen text, but like, I think I might actually end up playing a lot of this series. Like, I've read online reviews for it. People seem to say Yakuza 3 is peak, and I'll lean on that. I haven't played that game yet, so maybe it is actually peak. All I know is I started from 0, which means I still have to beat 1 and 2 before I can even touch 3, and 1 and 2 are some of the oldest Yakuza games out there. So, I'm sure the graphic quality is going to go down here, but I don't know. I'm interested. So, if you guys like Yakuza, please do say something in the comment section, because I want to know which ones you guys think are actually good, so that I can get my hopes up. So that way when I am disappointed and or my hopes actually meet expectations, I can praise and or shame whoever it was in the next video. That's all I've really got on this series. Honestly, if you haven't played Zero and you find it at a cheap price, get it. It's actually super cool. And if you want to feel something, it'll probably make you feel something unless you're like a certified psychopath. I don't know. I had a great time. There's really nothing else in any of the stuff that I wrote down that really has anything to do with anything that I can't say because I don't want to give away story beats. But yeah, I will catch you guys on the next one. This next project's probably going to take me a little while to get out, but who knows? I'll see you guys on the next one.